Something that's sort of been playing on my mind over the last few weeks. The more I've been going out with people, I've sort of I've sort of fallen into the questioning of asking myself, why do people dislike conversations that require them to think more deeply? Let's say like that. What I will say is that a lot of time I've gone out and I overshare. I overshare in the way of sort of not that I've got a lot going on, just sort of I like letting everything out. I like I've said before, oh, let's try and be more mysterious this year, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But I also just like letting it all out as well. It's sort of like a relief that everyone's just sort of be comfortable in doing. People shy away from these conversations, and it comes down really to their own comfort level, their own emotional resistance, um, and their effort in terms of, do they even want to have this conversation with me, let alone tell me everything about it. Um, I've made some points about the reasons why. First one would be cognitive effort, thinking in the terms of a deeper level with your mates. It takes work. We prefer sort of taking the mental shortcut, and like I've said before, in a world where a lot of the media we consume is short form, trying to have a deeper conversation with someone can just feel slow and draining. And people sort of, they go out, they want to talk about the football, they want to talk about other sports, they want to talk about their job, even though sometimes I don't. I'll, I'll be honest, sometimes I'm not really interested in that job, but then this is the kind of thing where you've got to be open to what they're saying to sort of get your side of the conversation in. The next one will be their emotional discomfort. Some people might not want to uncover some of the uncomfortable things that have happened to them. They sort of feel threatened if you're sort of doing these pushing questions onto them, and they sort of don't want to expose their own insecurities. They could also have a lack of intellectual curiosity or patience with you. People don't really enjoy thinking that deeply, and the intellect sort of develops over time. Uh, People are encouraged to sort of think more critically with each other about themselves, but in today's culture, I think it sort of killed people's patience with things, with social dynamics, um, with themselves, with the results that they're getting. They just sort of want to get it done, really. And then another one will be small talk. Uh, I think now people, they're too coded with how they operate in a conversation, and they sort of stick to what's safe. And having a deeper conversation as such, they sort of have to build up the trust with that person they're talking to in terms of going deeper in that conversation, rather than just if they don't have the trust in themselves, then it's going to be small talk. I have to write things like this down because I get it all out of my system. I think bringing stuff up like this to friends feels like hitting a wall. Sometimes when I'm talking to them, I can tell when I've either pushed a barrier or I know that their tone's off with me. Um, I'm quite passionate about making a change, breaking these sort of patterns, and overcoming my own self sabotage in order to sort of shift my mindset so that I can sort of go deeper in these conversations with people. I sort of want to build up everyone else's confidence as well as mine, and sort of get further in the conversation. I think our friendships rely on a lot of humour, entertainment, and sort of our own shared experiences. And in a setting where you're in one of them, where you're trying to have a laugh, trying to bring up a aspect of their life that is harder to bring up, it can really put off the mood of the whole thing. But sometimes you've just got to slowly, naturally break down them barriers of your friends, and eventually you'd hope that in their own self growth they would open up to you. people associate like these self-help piece of advice with an instant fix. They think, I want it right now. If you're telling me all this, I want it to change, click of my fingers. And they also think that maybe you're judging them, something's wrong with them, when that's not obviously the case. They might not want to hear it from me. I'm not qualified to say anything to them really. It's just sort of like a thought, an observation I've had where I'm like, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I observe myself. I write it all down. I see like what can I really do to change myself. Um, I think what could you change, but then I I'm all like I'll slowly push it. I'll be like if I'm at the pub, just one on one, I'm saying like, what are you looking forward to? Uh, what's changed this week to last week? Like slow things, but you're not pushing a change. You're just sort of like saying like, yeah, this week we could actually do something about that, but then not telling them to do something about that because you don't want to push too hard. Um, no one's got it all figured out. I have definitely not got life figured out. Because if I did, I wouldn't be here. Um, people don't want to admit that either. They want to act that nothing's wrong when it is. And a lot of times in these conversations, when you are one on one, especially a lot of this is down to one on one because that's when you can really hit home. Um, in these conversations, you can't start the conversation with or end the conversation with, I'm just trying to help. Because that will kill the confidence of the person you're talking to, and then they'll go avoidant. They will not feel comfortable in the social setting that you're in, and they'll be uncomfortable. This year, I think I'm going to I've got like levels of how I'm going to approach conversations with people in terms of I want them to do more. I want them to go deep with me. I want to go deep with them, so I want to sort of get it back. This is how I'm going to sort of break it down into how I'm going to sort of make this two-sided conversation so that I can have that deeper conversation. Most of this is so that I can let it out and they can let it out, not me putting it all on them and then them thinking, damn, like he's suffering. But more so, we can both help each other. So I'm going to bring up my insights of them naturally. So I'm not going to say like, oh God, you're doing that, you're doing this. It's sort of like little things where you go like, why don't you do that instead of that? And on this day, you could do that so that you have more time in that day. You sort of don't change their life, but you sort of edit their calendar, edit their clock. Like if they're not sleeping well, if I'm not sleeping well, we say, why are we not sleeping well? We break down each by point. We go, why are we not sleeping well? Because we're staying up too late. It's because we haven't got an alarm set. Um, it's because we're on our phone. It's because our devices are on too much. Our screen time's too high. So just sort of naturally bring up these sort of things that we can change, and then over time, hopefully, they will. Another one will be make it a relatable scenario where you don't go like you can't compare them to someone completely out the ordinary of who they are. Like your friends more better than anyone. So you need to just make these topics relatable. Like also, or if you know what like they're about, if you're going gym, if you're spending time with them, you're at the pub, relate to that. Say, I've seen this in the gym. Uh, let's change that. Or even like you feel that you're not training hard in the gym because you're on your own. Hit one of your mates up and go, I think we both improve if we went together. Because if you're in a situation with two people, you're going to push each other harder, and it's more beneficial for both of you, as well as then also when you're in a one-on-one, like I'm saying, you can have these conversations throughout. It doesn't have to be about gym. You can just talk about life and sort of let everything out. And because you're in sort of a safe space, they'll trust you. Another one would be patient with these groups of people. like I've said, you can't get it all out. They're not going to want to share it straight away. They're not going to spill the beans like me straight away. Like, I think so deeply, and I know that people don't. And I'm not even asking people to think deeply with me, but I've just got to be patient in them sort of coming around to the idea of it. That's sort of the main thing. They've got to come around to the idea, and then adding on to that, you've got to be patient. You've got to respect their boundaries because people don't know what happens in my life. I just get on with it, and then I don't really share a lot. Same as everyone else. I don't know what they do all day long. There's 24 hours in a day. I might see them for 2. I might see them for 3. I might see them for 8 if I'm at the pub. But you don't know what they're doing in the other 8 hours apart from working. But then also, when they're at work, you don't know the stress they're under. You don't know, like, sort of job security they're under. You don't know what they're doing. I don't know what people are doing in their job. I'm only worried about what I'm doing, as I should. As long as I can see that my friends are still vibrant and able to be themselves in other days, and that should be fine. But people dislike these conversations that require deeper thinking because they don't want to overexpose and share discomforts that they have in their life. And normally that's what it comes down to. And it is very, very hard to sort of get it out of someone and change them. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But I would just love it if sometimes when I would like to open up about a problem in my life, instead of getting like the typical like copy and paste, like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I get you. I'm there for you, mate. I want them to sort of help me devise a way around it, a solution, so that I'm not in my head overthinking this whole time, that I can sort of just make a change. So that's ultimately what it's all about. And hopefully this year I can sort of be patient, respect people's boundaries, and get them to open up with me.